Welcome to the Innovative Mind at Work podcast. My name is Dr. Tanya Knudsen, and I am your host. In this podcast, we're weaving business with creative processes for a new kind of leadership, one that's focused on innovation. This show is about creative leadership. Here, we learn to lean in and lead with a skill set and a mindset for catalyzing change. Let's begin. Kent and I are doing this project together. My area of expertise is in creative process, creative leadership specifically. And Kent, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm just a builder here in the Northwest. We specialize in steel fabrications, bridges, ports, some high rises, some projects for the military. But yeah, just humble builder. And I'm excited to be here. This is a great opportunity for me. I can say that what I've learned so far has impacted my business and has made a difference in the way my colleagues and I interact.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we started the project, right? Because we started having these rich conversations after our work together, I as a consultant to you. And so we decided, we need to do something about this because all businesses have complexity, right? Life is complex. And so we want to bring creative process into your work. And you've had some success already. So we want to go ahead and jump in. We had this conversation about where do we start, right? And so we decided to start at the beginning of our process, which is the process for creative problem solving, a process for resolving complexity by shaping an outcome. And this is a really important word I want to emphasize. We're really shaping a solution. In the real world, we decide what it is the answer, but that's not really how we work. We shape it. And you're a craftsman, you understand what it is to shape something, right? So the exercise that we want to talk about tonight is really how are you gathering data? Before we make a decision, before we make any decisions, we really want to diagnose. This is what a doctor would do when you go and say, hey, I'm feeling really whatever. A doctor's going to ask a lot of questions. The same principle applies to us. We want to gather data. So let's just set the scene of where you were in your work and then the exercise and then what happened as a result.
So that's a very interesting thing. So as you grow a business and as you work with a diverse group of colleagues and you try to share your vision, you try to share your energy, you try to share even your morality, your ideas, and as the company grows, it becomes harder and harder to control, if you will, that narrative and become impactful across the board as you get more and more. I like to think of my businesses as families disguised as businesses. Mm-hmm. We've been together, some of us, 20 years, 15 years, 18 years, 22 years. One of them, my son, been with me now, 39 years. Mm-hmm. And so there's some track record there that we really value. One of the things that I found was that when I met you, the very next day, I had a meeting that had some high stakes involved. I needed some energy. I needed input from engineers and project managers. I needed new ideas. I needed new energy. And what I really loved about our very first conversation in the beginning was you heard my pain point. You didn't take me back to number one step in this creative thinking process is X. You said, I hear you. Well, you could do this tomorrow. What I did is I took a new concept, maybe I will say it was a new tool in my toolbox that I gained from you the night before, and I said, let me use this as a way to engage people. And what I saw amazed me. What I witnessed is why I called you that very next afternoon, and I called you from my cell phone, and I said, Tanya, this is amazing. Because what happened is engineers that would normally lean back in their chair, look at me, nod, check their watch, yeah, we're going to be out of here at 5. Yeah, that's a good idea, but I hope it doesn't bring any more work to my plate. Mm-hmm. What I saw was all of a sudden elbows on the table, leaning in. What I saw was people looking down the table at me and offering input, and the difference in the engagement was something I didn't guide. I set the platform, thanks to what you showed me. I set the platform, but then instinctively, those people started to lead and bring their own ideas to the table. And then what was even more amazing, one engineer built off the other engineer. One project manager built off the ideas of another project manager. Pretty soon, I'm taking notes and I'm capturing new ideas, I'm capturing new energies, I'm capturing maybe a restatement of my own vision from these people telling me what they understood of it, and it was great. What I got was energy, intellect, and ideas that I didn't have on the table before.
I know you keep going back to this story, which tells me it's a really powerful story for you.
It was very powerful for me.
And that's really important to realize, because
it changed the way that I look at every meeting from this day forward.
And that's
changes
powerful.
the way I want to interact with my team.
We can start anywhere in this process. Was really what happened when I met you. Was I found where you were, I understood where you are in the problem. That's key information. When we know where we are in the problem, then we could understand what is the next step, and that's what happened. So to diagnose, coming back to that point, the job of me as a facilitator, as a creative leader, is to say, well, where are you? That was my diagnosis of you. And then I gave you something and you were able to take it into your meeting and it was effective. You had a behavioral change. In fact, physically, they leaned in, and that was the moment where, fireworks went off and all the rest of it, right?
It was even better than that. Never have I heard a group of engineers say, hey, are we meeting again next week?
That's
are we
powerful.
having a follow-up meeting next week? Mm-hmm. That's not in their vocabulary.
Right.
That's what changed.
Right. So you had a double dose.
I did.
Okay, great. So that was super fast, creative thinking, help that I gave you. So let's come now forward, because you've had a few experiences, and really think about, when we want to start this process of the podcast, how does this begin? So I explained, I just diagnosed your situation. You're now in a situation where I gave you an exercise, and I think that's how we're going to run the podcast, is we give something to you, we talk about something offline, real time, and then you go away, you do it in your business, and then you come back and you share. So when you diagnosed in your company just these last few days, you were data gathering, right? How did that go? You were gathering information for a particular purpose that had to do with safety, right?
Correct. And safety is nobody's favorite topic. It's a thing that we all run to the symptom, mandate a couple of new rules, and quote, we've hung a safety poster on the wall and said, hey, we're doing safety. So a hard topic to really engage and get any excitement out of. But what the difference was is you showed me a process, and let's just back up a little bit. I was late for the meeting. And so since I was late for the meeting, somebody had already started, and that was great. But who had started the meeting went directly to the symptom and said, oh, okay, we could solve this one symptom. This is an action item, we could solve this symptom. Which in a way is no different than putting a poster on the wall and saying, okay, hey, we're safe. Look, there's a poster on the wall that says think safety. But that does not maintain a direction, a course, with our vision, which is a family disguised as a business. And so what we did is we backed up and we said, oh, stop, let's talk about this. Who's going to be involved in the safety team? Well, what generated was, we really have two safety teams. We have an executive branch of the safety team that would meet once a quarter. We have a a more boots on the ground safety team that would meet once a month. And then additionally, then we have a safety team that meets every day, and their leads from each individual area. And so what we did is started to gather data and say, well, who's involved? Oh, okay, well now what's involved? And what are all the things? What might we be able to do? What can we do? What are all the things? And so out of that, again, I'm taking notes as fast as I can because of the what's. The who's generated a decent list, but then the what's generated a bigger list. And so we got some great ideas in a 1-hour meeting. And once again, we had a great platform to work forward from. But again, it kept with our vision that we're a family disguised as a business. I care about you. You care about me. If I'm getting old, if I die of a heart attack, that's going to affect you. You're young. If you die, a big piece of steel falls on you. That affects me. That's happened. I don't want to be there again. But the impact then that I could see the team building off of one block onto the next. So it became a different exercise, an exercise of we're building a culture, not just a safety team, not just a safety plan. We're going to build a culture of safety. And really, that's what we needed to focus on. It wasn't the symptom first. It was to build the platform first.
And so you asked a lot of questions?
I asked a lot of questions. And I have to say, you gave me this, and I didn't get to them all, but they were who, what, where, why, when, and how.
Yeah.
I think that's how it went. And I got to the who, what, why, and I don't know that I got to the where, but I did get to the when. And the when was important. It was a last minute thing. When? Oh, when are we meeting next? When does that group meet? When is this going to take place? And then we actually identified 2 when that were low-hanging fruit, that were relatively urgent, that we could address almost immediately. One of them just being traffic control. Your idea when you're driving a semi-truck, you come rolling into my fabrication facility, your idea of slow might be much different than my idea of slow. And so it was a new way to think. Just stop, don't run to the symptom, stop, address, gather data, and create a platform that you could now build off of in the future.
Right. And so that tool is really who, what, where, why, when, and how. It's 5 whys and an H. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. It actually comes to us from journalism. It's a very standard way of gathering data. And so what came out of that then sounds like a lot of information, some obvious action items, and anything else that you would add?
Yeah, so what really came out of it that is beneficial to the company is now what was on the table weren't all my ideas. If I'm senior management, the thing that I don't want to bring is my ideas, my mandate, because then it takes my energy, it takes my revisiting, it takes my continual involvement.
Well, and it's your show.
And it's my show. And so I'm like everybody else, I get weary, right? And I want a vacation. And so being able to generate energy and generate ownership in a way that wasn't offensive, didn't make them feel overburdened, didn't make them feel like, oh man, I've committed to something that now is going to be on my plate, is going to burn my hours, and I'm going to be expected to do more.
And you've talked about that before. You've mentioned that before.
Yeah,
that
people just
when
don't need
we're
more
working
work.
this way, they don't sense that they're getting more work.
That's right.
Which is another shift. So my question then for you is, so what I offered you was 5 W's and an H. It's a pretty standard tool for gathering data. It's also a process of diagnosing. And I'm curious, I mean, I'm not being funny here, but is this new information to you?
Well, so it's funny. It's so simple, like why didn't I think of it? But what the difference is that it opened the platform for them, for my colleagues to explore their own ideas and bring it to the table. And so it was stop the meeting, don't run to the symptom. It was stop and let the team generate the platform. And really, that's really what it was. All those W's and H's was, you could say, what the heck, all W's and H's, but what the heck was these people engaged, and they brought their own energy and they brought their own ideas. And what I generated in a list now is a platform that we can build on for 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 years. But more than that was we built the culture. We built this idea that you're important, your input is important, we want to hear it, and then we want to build on it.
And so, do you think that they're aware of that?
No, I don't think so. Because I haven't
said, hey guys,
shared,
we're doing
hey,
something
I got
new.
a new technique to bring to this meeting.
Okay.
What I did is just introduce it in a way that says, oh, well, what if, or what about, or how might, or whatever the W's were, the where, whys, and bring
5 W's and an H. Let's
5
be clear.
W's and an H. And what it did is it just set the platform. And so, and why I'm here is because it changed the energy of my business. It changed the way that I think I want to engage. And now that reflects on how I want to engage with my customers, how I want to engage with my colleagues, how I want to engage even with my family.
Well, and that's really what this is about. You know, how I speak, how I act, the quality of our interactions determines in large part the quality of the output. For example, right? Well, that's assuming that there's one answer, and that's not true. So when you ask a question that's more open-ended, right? Like you just said, well, what might be all the issues here with safety? Now that assumes that there's a lot of answers, and that's really what we're moving toward, in moving the organization toward what we call a creative climate. And that's where people are intrinsically motivated, like they're contributing, and you as the leader are providing an extrinsic motivation so that there's an environment where people feel safe and can and should contribute actively. And that changes the direction of the company, and it changes the behavior of the people in the company. And I think that that's what you're starting to experience.
Yes, and that's what's important to me. As a family disguised as a business, I keep using that, but it's very true in small and mid-sized companies, maybe 100, 150 employees or less, that we really do interact as a family. And one of the things that you mentioned, the who, what, whys, but one of the things that was most impactful was the why. And now you get to address the why. Why? Because we care about you. Why? Because we've witnessed people die in this business. We've witnessed arms severed. We've witnessed, death. And so why? Is because we care. And so when that is your message, it's hard for family to refute that you care. We all know in our hearts our families care about us. And
how do we know that? We know it because we feel it.
We feel it. Yeah,
that's
absolutely,
exactly right.
Absolutely,
we feel it.
Yeah, and even when we disagree, we feel it, right? Even when we say, wow, I'm tired of listening to you, we still feel care. And so
that's what the purpose of working collaboratively is, in a way, so that people feel connected to the work. It's really interesting to me that we didn't go in and say, hey guys, we're introducing a whole new way of working. That would have got groans, right? But just to bring it in and to say, this is the process today, they accepted it, they didn't seem to question it. It sounds like they're responding really well.
It's amazing. And so one of the skill sets, so maybe we're all born with a special trait that we all, just by natural birth or whatever, we end up with some natural instinct to be able to do X. So one of the things I always felt like I could do is get a group of people to charge bayonets. We could always rally and we could always accomplish something. And so I felt like I could motivate a group of people and we could work as a team. And that was always true up until my ability to impact 100, 150 people became limited. I didn't have the bandwidth. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the energy. I didn't have even the hours of the day to motivate that many people and keep the vision shared amongst that many people. And so what has been great about this way to interact or way to think has been, now it's not up to me to motivate that whole group. They're sharing what they understood of my vision, sharing it back to me. We're clarifying it as a group, and now they're leading. Now they're bringing that same message, and I can buy into what they brought. Mm-hmm. So the way the platform works is it's no longer up to me all the time, which is just absolutely beautiful, because one thing you learn, especially as you get older, you only have so much energy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I say only so much oxygen. I can only say it so many times. I can only mm-hmm. express it so many times. I run out of oxygen. Mm-hmm. Just don't have the ability. And so the platform has changed the way I want to interact, because I want those people to bring what they have to the table. I want them to own it. I want them to bring their ideas. I want to hear what they think the future looks like, so that we can clarify it and we can clean it up, and we can, as a group, all share it. And so it's been great.
So we've got some processes in place. We're learning some new ways of thinking. We're feeling immediately effects. I mean, when I did my study for my dissertation, it also was instant. Creative leadership is actually pretty easy to learn, as you found out, right? We had a couple of meetings. I gave you some stuff and scratched it out on a napkin, and off you went, and you got a result. But seriously, this is stuff that's easily learned, and it is a mind shift. It needs to be a mind shift. Gone are the days where we have the great man leader, the one guy out in front. That's not how it's going to work. There's too much complexity, and the world is too dynamic to rely solely on one great leader per se. So you're right in sharing the knowledge and diversity of thought. We know that there's strength in diversity of thought. And so what this process will bring is a way to leverage that and open all those doors. So,
and I have to build on that.
Yes.
Because again, that's what my team does now. They build on the idea. So one of the things that this does is it builds on the independence of each person, mm-hmm. because they bring their own creative thought. Mm-hmm. But why is that so important? Is because, especially today, most employees work 1 day, 2 days a week from home, sometimes a full week from home, sometimes a month from home. And so, but when they have brought and shared their vision, and they have brought that to the table, they take ownership. Mm-hmm. And so they're monitoring, they're self-monitoring, they're calling their colleagues, mm-hmm. they're talking it over. Mm-hmm. So it has brought independence to the forefront that's positive. Not just independence and they're over in their own world just doing their job. No, they're saying, no, I've got to help manage this. I've got to bring energy to that.
So you already have collaboration going on, and more collaboration, is that right?
Yeah, no, I do.
And this is incredible. We've only had, seriously, 3 or 4 meetings.
That's true, but one of them was very impactful. Mm-hmm. It was very necessary.
That was a brainstorming meeting. Mm-hmm.
And the one about safety, what was so great about it was it's not a subject that's fun for anybody. It's just a burden. It's just a problem. It's just a no-win mm-hmm. type of conversation. But the way it got addressed, and the way that maybe we had to re-steer it, it wasn't an easy thing to bring into the company. Let's talk about safety. Let's talk about the who, what, where, why, whens, and hows. Mm-hmm. It wasn't an easy thing to bring into the company. But when we stopped the conversation and when we redirected it into that process, the impact was so much different that, yes, I can say already the impact is huge. Yeah. The impact is beneficial to the business and profitable to the business, because I can't get that engagement by just being top-down management. Here's my new idea and here's a new spreadsheet to fill out. Just won't work.
It's really powerful that you say that. What you mentioned process. When we're talking about creative problem solving specifically, is that we were really focusing on the process. We're not focusing on each other, and we haven't even talked about personality yet, because that's a whole nother thing. But when we focus on the process itself in a way that is highly engaging, people can bring their innate problem-solving preference to the table. We know that. We'll talk more about that. But it neutralizes the situation. There's no finger pointing. There's no agenda. This is just get it out. And so that's what the diagnosis is really what is all here. We didn't even get to the next part yet, which is determining what's relevant. That would be in episode 2. What we're talking about here is when we're diagnosing a situation, it can be something that happens really quickly, like when I met with you the first time and I understood where you were and gave you something, or it could be a more lengthy process where in developing a safety plan, you really need to drill down and get all that information out because you don't know what's relevant. You have to still determine what's relevant. All we're doing now is just gathering information.
And what's great about that is the people you're gathering information from are the people with boots on the ground. They're intelligent people, and they've solved a lot of similar problems throughout their working their careers. You're talking to some smart people that have real-time experience, and so when you can engage them, you get powerful stuff.
Kent, thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
You're welcome. The Innovative Mind at Work podcast is sponsored by Vision Music Live, your source for music lessons and live performances in downtown Kirkland, Washington. Thanks for listening. For more information, check out theinnovativmindatwork.com. See you soon.